Are you ready to transform your life in just minutes a day? This audiobook dives into 10 powerful chapters on self-awareness, emotional intelligence, communication, goal setting, critical thinking, resilience, financial literacy, relationships, creativity, and purpose. Each chapter gives you practical, actionable steps to grow personally and professionally, and every tip can be applied immediately. There are no ads, just pure life-changing insights you can listen to daily. Subscribe now and join a community committed to personal growth, mastering life skills, and designing a meaningful, successful future. Don't miss a single chapter. Start your journey today and unlock the tools to elevate every aspect of your life. Chapter 1. Self-awareness, the foundation of growth. Self-awareness is the quiet skill that determines whether life pushes you around or you move through life with intention. It begins as a small, deliberate habit, noticing the first stirrings of anger in the chest, the quickening of breath when a deadline approaches, the soft pull toward a familiar comfort that does not serve long-term aims. This is not grand revelation or sudden enlightenment. It is steady observation, an honest look at what is happening inside, so choices that matter can be made with clarity instead of reaction. The practice of self-awareness trains attention. With attention comes choice. With choice comes freedom. Begin each day with a short practice that anchors observation. Sit with a pen and a blank page for 5 minutes and write exactly what is present. Name emotions specifically, avoid vague labels. Replace bad with disappointed or uneasy. Replace stressed with rushed or overloaded. The brain calms when emotion is named. Naming transforms raw impulse into information. Follow the list with one brief question. What is under this feeling that I can control? That draws the mind from complaint toward constructive focus. This simple ritual shifts the nervous system from autopilot to deliberate action before the day's noise colonizes attention. A practical tool for building self-knowledge is a strengths and weaknesses inventory that is refreshed monthly. Create 2 columns on a page. On the left, write 3 strengths, with concrete examples that show the strength in action. On the right, write 3 weaknesses and list the precise situations when they surface. The strength column prevents the mistake of thinking improvement means constant self-criticism. The weakness column prevents the myth that talents alone will carry success. Every month, adjust examples and notice patterns. Does impatience show up under pressure? Does creativity dim when fatigue sets in? Patterns are the maps to change. Journaling is essential, but the way journaling is used matters. Resist the urge to vent for venting's sake. Use structured prompts that guide reflection and action. Useful prompts include: what did I do well today, and why? What tempted me away from my principles? What is one concrete action I can take tomorrow to align more closely with my values? End each entry with one micro-commitment, an action no longer than 15 minutes, that directly addresses something on the page. This turns insight into movement rather than letting notes gather dust. Attention to physical signals is a non-negotiable part of self-awareness. The body speaks before the mind fully organizes a response. Notice the jaw clench, the tightness between the shoulders, the hollow in the stomach. A quick body scan will reveal more than a long argument in the head. Practice this. Set a timer for 3 moments during the day. When the timer clips, stop and trace sensations from the crown of the head to the soles of the feet in 20 slow seconds. Name what is found without judging it. Observe the texture of the breath. This short pause is an anchor that separates stimulus from response and creates a space for wise action. Emotional intelligence grows from disciplined noticing plus naming, followed by choosing. When an emotional reaction arises, Apply the pause, name, decide sequence. Pause long enough for the chest or throat to quiet. Name the precise feeling. Decide what role that feeling should play in the moment. Informant, not dictator. For example, anger can be a signal that a boundary is crossed. If anger appears, it might mean a boundary is needed, or it might reveal internal fatigue. Decide whether to speak, step away, rest, or act. This repeats until emotional life becomes data rather than drama. Reflection practices deepen self-understanding. Weekly reflection is powerful. Set aside 30 minutes once a week to review the last 7 days. Use a focused structure. Achievements, struggles, lessons, and experiments. For achievements, record the small wins that usually go unnoticed. For struggles, identify where energy leaked and why. For lessons, translate mistakes into rules for the future. For experiments, plan a single test, small, measurable, and time-bound, to change one pattern. This habit of deliberate review turns life into a laboratory where the self is improved by design. Values are the compass that keep self-awareness aligned with purpose. Many people behave as if values are abstract ideals. Values must be made concrete. Choose 3 core values and describe what each looks like in practice. Punctuality might mean replying to messages within 24 hours. Honesty might mean naming a mistake as soon as it is discovered. Courage might mean saying no to a lucrative but draining commitment. When decisions come, measure options against these concrete behaviors. This reduces regrettable choices and speeds up decisions under pressure. A Stoic exercise that sharpens perspective is negative visualization. Spend 5 minutes imagining the loss of something valued, a relationship, health, role, or possession. The purpose is not to cultivate fear, but to build gratitude and prepare for change. When the imagination visits loss, notice what truly matters and what is indifferent. This clarifies priorities and inoculates against panic. Pair this with the dichotomy of control. Make a list of what is within influence and what is not. Direct energy to what can be shaped. Accept what cannot, and act where effort makes a difference. Feedback from others is raw material for accurate self-perception. Approach feedback deliberately. Ask a trusted person a focused question like, "When I get annoyed, what do I do that makes it worse?" Or, "What's one blind spot that trips me up at work?" Receive the answer without defense. The aim is not to be corrected by others, but to collect evidence about how actions land. Then, test that evidence by making one targeted change and measuring results. Small controlled experiments, speaking up earlier in meetings, pausing longer before responding to criticism, reveal whether an external signal aligns with internal intention. Practice public honesty in small ways to build integrity. If a commitment cannot be met, communicate early and plainly. If a mistake is made, name it and propose a remedy. The muscle of honesty strengthens through repetition. Each honest moment reduces the energy spent on concealment and increases alignment between inner life and outer action. This alignment breeds calm. Calm breeds better decisions. Create boundaries that protect attention. Self-awareness becomes useless if it is constantly hijacked by notifications, other people's agendas, and endless consumption. Define non-negotiable blocks. 2 hours of undisturbed work each morning. No social media before noon. A sacred hour before bed without screens. These boundaries are not punishments, they are structures that allow consistent self-examination and disciplined growth. When boundaries are tested, note that test in the monthly inventory and adjust the structure rather than blaming willpower. Daily life is the proving ground for self-awareness. Carry out small experiments. Reduce caffeine for 1 week and observe mental clarity. Practice saying no to one opportunity each week and feel the relief. Spend 20 minutes in nature and notice cognitive looseness. Each experiment should be simple, measurable, and reversible. Collect the data, adjust and repeat. Over months, these small experiments aggregate into a transformed daily rhythm. When decisions are difficult, imagine the person to become rather than the life to escape. Self-awareness without vision can become self-absorption. Define the character traits to be embodied: discipline, compassion, curiosity, clarity, and ask whether each choice builds that character. This reframes decisions as commitments to identity rather than attempts to maximize comfort. The clarity that results makes choice less stressful and more purposeful. Conclusion comes not as an abstract command, but as an invitation to steady practice. Self-awareness is not a finish line, it is an ongoing method. Observe without glamour, name without shame, act without hesitation. The rewards are tangible: the ability to choose in stormy moments, to repair relationships before they fracture, to direct daily habits toward a life that looks like intention rather than accident. Begin with 5 minutes of honest writing, a weekly 30-minute review, and one small experiment each month. These are modest promises that, kept consistently, lead to profound change. The work is simple but not easy. Discipline is required. Discipline is not a punishment, it is the art of creating conditions where insight turns into action. With steady attention, the inner weather will be read with accuracy, impulses will become data, and life will be shaped by choice. This is the first offering of a practical life: knowing who you are, understanding the forces that move you, and learning to act from purpose rather than habit. The rest of life will respond. Chapter 2: Emotional Intelligence. Navigating life smoothly. Emotional intelligence is the invisible force that shapes how life unfolds, the quiet skill that determines whether challenges become opportunities or obstacles become burdens. It is the ability to notice emotions, not just in yourself but in others, and respond with clarity, empathy, and control. Life often presents moments that provoke frustration, fear, or impatience. Those moments are inevitable. What differentiates people who navigate life smoothly from those who struggle is not circumstance. It is the ability to perceive, process, and act upon emotions in a way that serves growth rather than reaction. Emotional intelligence is the bridge between feeling and doing, between internal awareness and external success. At its core, emotional intelligence begins with recognition. Many people live with a haze of unexamined reactions, feeling swept along by anger, envy, or irritation without understanding why. The first step is to name what arises in real time. This requires honest attention. When a tension rises in the chest, a tightening in the jaw, or a rush of thoughts, pause and identify the emotion with precision. Instead of simply saying "I'm upset," observe the shape of the feeling. Is it anxiety, disappointment, or resentment? Understanding the specific quality of the emotion transforms it from a reactive impulse into actionable insight. Naming is not merely labeling, it is claiming authority over internal experience, the first decisive act of self-mastery. Self-regulation is the next layer. Once an emotion is recognized, the choice of response determines its impact. For example, a coworker interrupts a presentation. Without regulation, the first instinct may be defensiveness, sarcasm, or anger. With self-regulation, the response becomes measured: a pause, a controlled breath, and a reply that addresses the situation without escalating tension. This does not mean suppressing emotion. It means allowing the feeling to inform action rather than dictate it. Breathing techniques, brief mental reframing, or even a subtle shift in posture can interrupt the chain of impulsive reaction. Over time, these micro-practices create a habit of calm decisiveness under pressure, a skill that dramatically alters personal and professional interactions. Empathy is another critical pillar. It is not simply understanding another's situation superficially, but tuning into their emotional frequency with intention. Observing subtle cues, tone, body language, facial expressions reveals layers of meaning beyond words. Consider a team member who submits work late, seemingly careless. Empathy asks, what pressures might exist? What fears or obstacles are hidden behind the behavior? A leader who responds with curiosity rather than judgment often uncovers root causes, inspires cooperation, and strengthens trust. Empathy requires listening not just with the ears, but with the mind and heart aligned. In daily life, practicing empathy transforms conflict into collaboration. It shifts interactions from transactional to relational, from reactive to constructive. Social awareness extends emotional intelligence beyond individual encounters to broader environments. It is the ability to read the emotional currents of a room, a group, or an organization and respond in a way that is appropriate and effective. This might mean sensing unspoken tension during a meeting, recognizing subtle frustration from a partner, or noticing when a friend feels excluded. Social awareness allows for interventions that maintain harmony, strengthen relationships, and prevent small misunderstandings from becoming lasting fractures. Those who master social awareness often become invisible facilitators of smoother communication, problem resolution, and trust building. A practical approach to strengthening emotional intelligence is a daily reflection exercise. At the end of each day, identify one moment when emotions ran high. Reflect on what was felt, what triggered the reaction, and how the response affected the situation. Ask, what alternative action could have led to a better outcome? Then, imagine practicing that alternative tomorrow. This creates a feedback loop. Awareness informs reflection. Reflection informs action. Action strengthens skill. Over time, this loop transforms habitual reactions into deliberate choices. Consider the real-life example of a manager who receives critical feedback in a team meeting. Initially, the manager feels a sting of embarrassment and defensiveness. A typical response might involve defensively explaining away errors or shifting blame. Instead, the manager pauses, recognizes the rising emotion as vulnerability mixed with pride, and takes a slow, measured breath. Empathy toward the colleague providing feedback surfaces their intent is improvement, not personal attack. The manager then responds calmly, asking clarifying questions and thanking the team member for the insight. The situation evolves from potential conflict into a constructive dialogue that builds trust, demonstrates leadership, and models self-control. Emotional intelligence transformed a moment that could have caused friction into an opportunity for connection and growth. Another important dimension is understanding long-term consequences of emotional responses. Impulsive reactions often solve immediate discomfort, but create complications in the future. Writing down emotional reactions and revisiting them weekly can reveal patterns. For instance, repeated irritability during morning meetings may indicate poor preparation or lack of sleep. Recognizing the root allows targeted change. Adjusting schedules, preparing in advance, or implementing a brief morning mindfulness session can dramatically reduce recurring tension. Emotional intelligence, in this sense, is both diagnostic and prescriptive. It identifies what needs attention and guides practical action to align behavior with values and goals. Communication is inseparable from emotional intelligence. Words carry more than literal meaning. Tone, timing, and nonverbal cues convey emotion. Consider a colleague who requests help via email. A purely logical reply may seem curt or indifferent. A response tempered by emotional awareness acknowledges effort, expresses appreciation, and frames guidance constructively. Small shifts in delivery reduce misunderstandings, increase receptivity, and foster collaboration. This demonstrates that mastering emotional intelligence is not theoretical. It yields tangible, measurable benefits in how others respond to you and how effectively you influence outcomes. Emotional intelligence also requires boundaries. Awareness of emotions is useless if constantly hijacked by external pressures. Defining clear personal and professional limits ensures energy is not drained by unnecessary friction. For example, scheduling periods for uninterrupted focus, politely declining excessive commitments, or stepping away from volatile conversations are acts of practical self-preservation. Boundaries provide the mental space to observe, process, and respond rather than react, creating resilience against the unpredictable dynamics of life. Visualization exercises amplify development. Spend 5 minutes imagining a challenging encounter, a difficult client, a tense conversation, or an emotionally charged meeting. Visualize your response, grounded in awareness, empathy, and calm. Replay the scenario with variations, observing different outcomes. This mental rehearsal strengthens preparedness and embeds emotional skills in real-world contexts. Over time, the mind begins to act as if calm and understanding responses are instinctive, creating a seamless integration between reflection and action. The practice of gratitude also interacts with emotional intelligence. Regularly acknowledging positives, small accomplishments, acts of kindness, moments of cooperation shifts focus from reactive negativity to constructive engagement. Gratitude reduces emotional volatility, strengthens relationships, and fosters a mindset conducive to problem solving. It does not ignore challenges, it simply reframes perception, making response measured rather than reactionary. Emotional intelligence is ultimately about mastery of self and influence on the world. It transforms ordinary moments, feedback, conflict, collaboration into opportunities for deliberate growth, enhanced relationships, and smoother navigation of life's complexities. It requires patience, consistent reflection, and daily practice, but the rewards are profound. Better decisions, deeper connections, calmer presence, and a life guided by understanding rather than impulse. Every day provides openings to cultivate these skills by observing emotions with precision, responding with self-regulation, practicing empathy, tuning into social cues, and applying reflection exercises. The ability to navigate life smoothly becomes a lived reality. Emotional intelligence is not an abstract trait. It is a practical, trainable skill that shapes every interaction and every outcome. It is the quiet force behind resilience, connection, and enduring personal and professional success. The journey toward emotional intelligence begins with one deliberate act: noticing the emotion before it notices you, pausing before reacting, and choosing a response aligned with both values and goals. Practiced consistently, this becomes the foundation upon which confident, meaningful, and harmonious life experiences are built. Chapter 3: Effective Communication. Speak, listen, and influence. Effective communication is the invisible architecture of every successful relationship, decision, and opportunity. It is not merely the act of speaking words, but the skill of conveying meaning clearly, listening attentively, and influencing outcomes with authenticity. Many people assume communication is natural, something that happens effortlessly when two people exchange words. In truth, effective communication is deliberate, layered, and learned. The difference between a conversation that inspires action and one that sows confusion lies in clarity, attentiveness, and emotional resonance. Learning to communicate effectively requires conscious attention to both what is said and how it is received. Every exchange becomes an opportunity to build understanding, establish trust, and create influence. The foundation of communication begins with clarity. Words are powerful, but without precision, they lose their force. Begin by organizing thoughts before expressing them. This does not mean scripting every word, but structuring ideas so that the central message is unmistakable. When preparing to speak, identify the core point that must be understood. Surround this point with supporting details, but avoid tangential distractions that dilute meaning. Simple, concrete language resonates more than abstract or overly complex vocabulary. Clarity is not only about the words themselves, but the rhythm and structure of expression, guiding listeners through the message without confusion. Listening is the silent partner of speaking. Without listening, communication becomes monologue masquerading as dialogue. True listening requires attention to words, tone, pace, and body language. Many interruptions, judgments, or preconceptions block the reception of the speaker's intent. Practicing active listening involves fully focusing, acknowledging, understanding through brief reflections or paraphrases, and withholding immediate responses until the other party has finished expressing themselves. This level of attentiveness signals respect, builds trust, and often reveals nuances that would otherwise be missed. Listening deeply can transform conflicts into resolutions, misunderstandings into clarity, and casual exchanges into meaningful connections. One practical exercise to strengthen communication is the mirror conversation practice. Choose a partner and discuss a topic of importance for 5 minutes. During this time, focus entirely on listening without interrupting. Afterward, summarize what the other person said, capturing both facts and feelings. This practice trains attentional skills, strengthens empathy, and highlights the natural gaps between what is said and what is heard. Repeating this exercise daily or weekly creates a habit of reflective listening, which enhances all future interactions. Persuasion is the art of aligning understanding with intention. It is not coercion or manipulation, but presenting ideas in a way that resonates with the values, priorities, and perspectives of others. Persuasive communication requires knowing your audience as well as yourself. Observe motivations, acknowledge concerns, and articulate solutions in terms that are meaningful to the listener. Effective persuasion often involves storytelling, concrete examples, and framing proposals as collaborative rather than directive. The ability to influence is not reserved for formal leadership positions. It emerges in daily interactions, from negotiating responsibilities at work to fostering cooperation at home. Nonverbal communication amplifies verbal messages in ways often unnoticed. Facial expressions, posture, gestures, eye contact, and tone carry far more information than words alone. A confident stance can reinforce credibility, a relaxed tone can lower resistance. Awareness of nonverbal cues is critical both in self-expression and in reading others. Misalignment between words and body language undermines trust, while coherence enhances believability and emotional connection. Practicing awareness of posture, gestures, and eye contact in front of a mirror or during low-stakes interactions increases fluency in nonverbal communication, making every encounter more intentional. Real-life examples illustrate how these skills compound. Consider a project manager leading a cross-functional team through a complex deliverable. Without effective communication, deadlines are missed, tasks are duplicated, and morale declines. By articulating the project vision clearly, listening to team concerns, and aligning motivations with tasks, the manager transforms a chaotic process into coordinated effort. When a team member expresses frustration about workload, active listening validates their perspective, while the manager can negotiate adjustments, offer support, and maintain progress. The result is a workplace environment where clarity, empathy, and influence converge to achieve collective success. Confidence in communication emerges from preparation, practice, and alignment with authenticity. Nervousness often stems from the fear of judgment or misinterpretation. Confidence is not the absence of these fears, but the capacity to engage despite them. Speaking with confidence requires connecting with core knowledge, structuring ideas coherently, and delivering with steadiness of voice. Pausing deliberately allows time for clarity and signals control rather than haste. Even brief moments of silence create space for emphasis, reflection, and absorption by the listener. Feedback is an underutilized tool for developing communication skills. Soliciting input from colleagues, friends, or mentors about clarity, tone, or persuasiveness exposes blind spots and provides actionable insights. Consider asking, "How did my message come across?" Or "Was there any point that confused or distracted you?" Incorporating feedback systematically fosters improvement, turning occasional communication into consistent mastery. Self-monitoring through journaling about daily interactions reinforces learning. Recording conversations, reviewing them, and noting areas for adjustment are practical techniques to accelerate skill acquisition. Conflict offers a unique opportunity for growth in communication. Most people avoid confrontation or react impulsively, creating escalation. Approaching conflict with structured communication can transform it into problem solving. Begin by identifying the objective of the conversation. Then express observations without judgment, state feelings transparently, and propose constructive solutions. Listening attentively to the other party ensures that all perspectives are considered. This framework reduces defensiveness, fosters collaboration, and often results in outcomes that satisfy both sides, while strengthening relationships. Storytelling elevates communication beyond the transactional. Humans naturally respond to narratives. Presenting information within a story creates connection, memorability, and resonance. Stories frame abstract principles in tangible experiences, making messages persuasive and inspiring. When a mentor shares a lesson learned from personal failure, the story conveys wisdom more effectively than a list of rules. Integrating storytelling with clarity, empathy, and persuasive framing enhances influence without overt manipulation. Timing and pacing are subtle but critical. Speaking too quickly can overwhelm or confuse. Speaking too slowly can lose attention. Observe listener responses, adjust pace, and insert pauses for reflection. Strategic repetition emphasizes essential points without redundancy. Timing also applies to choosing moments for initiating conversations, presenting proposals, or giving feedback. Emotional context, readiness, and environment determine receptivity. Mastery involves synchronizing speech, content, and environment to maximize impact. Practice alone is insufficient without self-awareness. Reflecting on daily interactions, noting moments of miscommunication, missed empathy, or lost opportunities for influence provides insight into patterns. Pairing reflection with intentional practice, applying a new technique the following day, creates cumulative improvement. Over months, this cycle reshapes how ideas are conveyed, understood, and received, establishing communication as a tool of empowerment rather than frustration. Ultimately, effective communication is a skill that transforms life. It is the vehicle for influence, understanding, connection, and leadership. Every word, pause, and gesture contributes to a narrative of clarity, confidence, and purpose. Daily practice, reflective observation, and deliberate attention to both self and others ensure communication becomes a source of influence rather than conflict, connection rather than confusion. Through this skill, ordinary exchanges become opportunities for growth, collaboration, and achievement, shaping a life where words carry weight and relationships flourish. Effective communication is not a gift bestowed. It is a cultivated practice built on clarity, listening, empathy, influence, nonverbal mastery, and reflection. By committing to the intentional development of these capabilities, every interaction becomes a stepping stone toward personal and professional success. Starting with mindful attention to one conversation each day and applying learned insights immediately, transformation occurs incrementally yet powerfully. Communication then ceases to be a passive act. It becomes a deliberate, transformative force that shapes reality, builds trust, and amplifies influence. Chapter 4: Goal Setting and Productivity, Turning Dreams into Action. Setting goals without a clear method is like sailing without a compass. The horizon may seem appealing, but without structure, the wind and current dictate direction. Productivity is not merely about doing more, it is about doing what matters consistently and with focus. Turning dreams into action requires understanding what is truly important, breaking it into achievable steps, and aligning energy with intention. Many people experience a sense of urgency yet drift aimlessly, mistaking motion for progress. Real progress arises when goals are defined clearly, prioritized wisely, and approached with disciplined consistency. The journey from aspiration to accomplishment is built on a foundation of strategic planning, self-awareness, and practical daily habits. Every meaningful goal begins with clarity. Vague intentions produce vague results. Instead of "I want to be healthier," a clear goal articulates specifics. I will exercise for 30 minutes, 5 times a week, and reduce sugar intake by half over the next 3 months. This specificity transforms abstract desire into actionable steps. Identifying measurable indicators ensures that progress is observable and accountable. Clarity requires asking precise questions: what, why, and how. What is the goal? Why does it matter? How will success be measured? Without these answers, effort dissipates and distractions easily divert energy. Prioritization is the bridge between setting goals and achieving them. The human brain tends to be pulled toward tasks that are urgent rather than important. Productivity depends on distinguishing between activities that create meaningful impact and those that merely fill time. One practical method is the 3 most important tasks rule. Each morning, identify 3 critical actions that move long-term goals forward. These are not chores but leverage points. Completing these first ensures that energy is spent on outcomes that truly matter. Less critical activities can be scheduled later or delegated, creating a structured approach that maximizes impact. Time management underpins sustained action. Time is finite, and every distraction chips away at potential. Effective management is not about rigid schedules, but about controlling attention. Tools such as time blocking, allocating specific periods for focused work, and the Pomodoro technique, short bursts of concentrated effort followed by deliberate rest, help maintain momentum without burnout. Minimizing interruptions, turning off notifications, and setting boundaries around work periods preserves the cognitive bandwidth necessary for complex tasks. Efficient use of time converts intention into tangible outcomes consistently over weeks and months. Procrastination is one of the greatest enemies of goal achievement. It thrives on fear, uncertainty, and the illusion of infinite time. Overcoming procrastination begins with understanding its triggers. Often, the first step is smaller than imagined. A single paragraph drafted, a single call made, a single step taken. The 2-minute rule is a practical exercise. If a task can be started or completed in under 2 minutes, do it immediately. This breaks inertia and generates momentum. Gradually, the initial resistance decreases and productivity becomes self-reinforcing. A real-world example illustrates the power of structured goal setting and productivity. Consider an aspiring author determined to complete a book within a year. Without structure, drafts accumulate inconsistently, deadlines slip, and frustration mounts. By setting clear monthly targets, prioritizing writing sessions, and blocking 2 hours each morning exclusively for creative work, progress becomes measurable. Starting with a 500-word daily goal, the author converts an overwhelming ambition into manageable steps. Over time, consistent daily action produces completed chapters, transforming a distant dream into a tangible manuscript. The combination of clarity, prioritization, time management, and discipline transforms aspiration into achievement. Tracking progress is as essential as taking action. Weekly or monthly reviews allow evaluation of accomplishments, identification of obstacles, and adjustment of strategies. Reflection helps prevent repetition of ineffective habits and reinforces behaviors that yield results. Documenting wins, no matter how small, fuels motivation and creates a feedback loop that sustains momentum. Without this reflection, effort remains unanchored, and motivation wanes even when substantial work is undertaken. Visualization strengthens both commitment and execution. Imagining success vividly, the tangible experience of achieving the goal, aligns mental and physical energy with action. Visualization is most effective when paired with concrete steps, seeing not just the result, but each stage necessary to reach it. A student preparing for an exam can visualize not only receiving a top score, but also the focused study sessions, the disciplined note-taking, and the consistent revision. The brain begins to orient behavior toward what is imagined, enhancing discipline and resilience. Accountability accelerates progress. Sharing goals with a trusted friend, mentor, or group creates external reinforcement. The act of reporting progress regularly encourages consistency and provides encouragement when motivation falters. Accountability does not imply dependence on others for results. Rather, it strengthens internal commitment by creating a supportive environment for persistent effort. Pairing accountability with self-monitoring, such as maintaining a journal of daily accomplishments, ensures alignment between intention and behavior. Flexibility is a critical companion to discipline. Even the most carefully structured plans encounter obstacles, illness, unexpected responsibilities, or changes in circumstance. Adaptability involves recalibrating timelines, revising steps, and re-evaluating priorities without losing sight of the ultimate objective. A rigid approach breeds frustration, while flexible persistence maintains momentum despite challenges. The goal remains fixed. Methods adjust to the environment, preserving progress while honoring reality. Motivation alone is insufficient for long-term achievement. Energy and willpower fluctuate naturally. Embedding systems into daily life, fixed routines, small rituals, and recurring practices transforms effort from episodic bursts into sustained performance. For example, committing to a daily 30-minute review of priority tasks embeds progress into habit rather than relying on transient inspiration. Habits are the scaffolding upon which consistent goal achievement is built, reducing reliance on unpredictable motivation. The combination of clarity, prioritization, time management, momentum-building techniques, accountability, flexibility, and habit formation constitutes a comprehensive strategy for turning dreams into action. The process is iterative: set goals, act, reflect, adjust, and repeat. Over months and years, these repeated cycles compound, producing results that appear effortless to outside observers, but are the product of deliberate, persistent effort. One practical exercise to strengthen this process is the daily goal alignment practice. Each morning, Identify the single most impactful action for each active goal. Write it down, visualize completing it, and schedule it at the time of day when focus is naturally highest. Complete the task without delay, then mark it as done. This practice reinforces prioritization, builds momentum, and strengthens the neural pathways that link intention with execution. Repeated consistently, it cultivates a mindset oriented toward results, reduces procrastination, and develops the capacity to translate long-term aspirations into tangible accomplishments. The discipline of goal setting and productivity reshapes not only outcomes, but character. It cultivates patience, resilience, focus, and intentionality. Small, consistent actions accumulate into measurable progress. Dreams that once seemed distant take concrete shape, and confidence grows as the ability to turn plans into reality becomes undeniable. Life shifts from reaction to design, from hope to deliberate achievement, creating a sense of mastery and fulfillment that radiates into every area of existence. Turning dreams into action is a lifelong skill, refined through reflection, practice, and adaptation. It demands honesty about priorities, courage to act decisively, and persistence when challenges arise. By committing to structured goal setting, deliberate prioritization, and disciplined execution, anyone can transform aspirations into reality, achieving results that align with values, ambitions, and purpose. This skill is the cornerstone of personal growth, productivity, and enduring success.
Chapter 5: Critical Thinking and Decision-Making. Think smarter, act better.
Critical thinking is the compass that guides decisions through the fog of complexity, the skill that separates reactive choices from deliberate actions. Life presents endless situations where multiple options exist, each with potential benefits and hidden consequences. Without critical thinking, decisions are made impulsively, shaped by emotion, bias, or convenience. Analytical thinking allows the mind to examine evidence, weigh alternatives, and anticipate outcomes with clarity and precision. Developing this skill transforms challenges into opportunities, uncertainty into strategy, and habitual patterns into intentional progress. The process begins with curiosity, asking questions, probing assumptions, and refusing to accept information at face value. Every decision begins with accurate perception. Observing situations without distortion requires attention to detail and the willingness to see beyond surface appearances. A common mental trap is the assumption that the first explanation is the correct one. By examining multiple perspectives, one uncovers nuances that were initially invisible. Start by asking what facts are known, what is inferred, and what assumptions are embedded in those inferences. Separating objective data from personal interpretation prevents rash conclusions and allows the mind to consider alternatives that might otherwise be dismissed. Bias is the invisible force that undermines thinking. Confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that aligns with pre-existing beliefs, often distorts judgment. Awareness of this bias is the first step toward mitigation. Actively seek dissenting opinions or contrary evidence. Challenge initial impressions and test assumptions rigorously. The mind tends toward mental shortcuts, heuristics that are efficient but prone to error. Developing critical thinking is the disciplined effort to slow down these automatic responses and introduce deliberation, scrutiny, and verification. Problem-solving requires breaking complex situations into manageable components. When confronted with a difficult choice, divide the problem into discrete elements: objectives, constraints, available resources, and potential consequences. This decomposition reveals hidden connections and clarifies priorities. Once the pieces are identified, explore multiple solutions. Evaluate each option for feasibility, risk, and alignment with long-term goals. This systematic approach prevents overreaction to superficial pressures and allows for informed, strategic decisions rather than impulsive reactions. A practical method for sharpening decision-making is the pros and cons with weighting exercise. When faced with a choice, list all potential benefits and risks for each option. Assign a weight to each based on impact or probability. Add the weighted values to create a comparative evaluation. This practice transforms subjective preference into structured analysis, revealing which option offers the most rational advantage. Repeating this exercise in daily decisions, small or large, reinforces disciplined evaluation and trains the mind to recognize patterns of effective reasoning. Consider a real-world example. A small business owner deciding whether to launch a new product line. Initial enthusiasm may tempt immediate action, but critical thinking requires evaluation of market trends, financial projections, operational capacity, and customer needs. By breaking the decision into components, researching demand, calculating costs, assessing team readiness, the owner can make an informed choice. The process may reveal that the timing is premature or that adjustments are necessary, preventing costly mistakes. Structured analysis turns instinctual excitement into calculated, actionable strategy. Anticipating consequences is central to better decision-making. Every choice carries potential outcomes, and understanding both immediate and downstream effects reduces unintended consequences. Scenario planning is a useful tool. Imagine best case, worst case, and most likely outcomes for each option. Consider how each scenario aligns with values, goals, and risk tolerance. This exercise strengthens foresight, allowing the mind to act with foresight rather than reacting to consequences after the fact. The discipline of projecting outcomes is a form of mental rehearsal that cultivates prudence and strategic awareness. Questions drive critical thinking. Cultivate the habit of inquiry. Instead of accepting statements or situations at face value, ask, why does this exist? How does it work? Who benefits? What could go wrong? Even simple questions deepen understanding and reveal hidden dynamics. Questioning is not skepticism for its own sake. It is the method by which clarity emerges and the fog of assumption lifts. Over time, a questioning mind identifies patterns, recognizes potential pitfalls, and perceives opportunities that others overlook. Avoiding emotional hijacking is essential. Strong feelings, fear, anger, desire can override logic and cloud judgment. Awareness of emotional triggers allows for pause and reflection before responding. For example, a manager receiving critical feedback may feel instinctive defensiveness. Recognizing the emotional surge allows the manager to detach temporarily, assess the validity of the feedback, and respond constructively rather than reactively. Emotional regulation does not diminish humanity. It amplifies rationality and effectiveness, enabling decisions that are aligned with objectives rather than transient feelings. Information overload is another challenge. The modern world offers endless data, much of it irrelevant or misleading. Critical thinking requires the ability to filter, prioritize, and verify information. Sources must be assessed for credibility, evidence weighed carefully, and assumptions questioned. Decisions based on poor or incomplete data are prone to error, while careful analysis of accurate information produces actionable insights. Developing discernment in evaluating sources is as important as analyzing the content itself, ensuring that judgment is based on reality rather than rumor or perception. Collaboration enhances decision-making. Diverse perspectives introduce new angles and challenge blind spots. Consulting others does not weaken autonomy, It strengthens judgment by exposing the mind to insights that might otherwise remain hidden. Group discussion, when structured to encourage analysis rather than conformity, amplifies critical evaluation and generates creative solutions. The key is deliberate facilitation. Invite diverse input, weigh evidence objectively, and integrate perspectives without losing clarity of purpose. A real-world application illustrates the power of combined critical thinking and decision-making. A software team confronted with a major system failure faces immediate pressure. Panic would lead to hasty, uncoordinated action. Instead, the team separates symptoms from root causes, gathers accurate data, weighs potential interventions, and considers downstream effects. By mapping out consequences and assigning responsibilities, the team resolves the issue efficiently, prevents recurrence, and maintains client trust. Structured reasoning under pressure transforms potential crisis into opportunity for leadership and growth. Developing these skills requires consistent practice. Daily exercises might include analyzing a news story, identifying assumptions and biases, evaluating the evidence, and forming a reasoned opinion. Alternatively, when faced with personal decisions, pause to identify influencing factors, list alternatives, anticipate consequences, and select the course most aligned with values and objectives. Reflection after each decision strengthens awareness of cognitive patterns, reveals recurring errors, and refines future judgment. Over time, analytical thinking becomes instinctive rather than forced, and decision-making is guided by reasoned clarity instead of habit or impulse. Critical thinking is inseparable from responsibility. Choices shape outcomes not only for oneself, but for those affected by the decisions. Ethical reflection ensures that decisions are not merely expedient, but aligned with principles and long-term goals. Considering fairness, consequences, and societal impact elevates thinking from tactical to strategic, embedding wisdom into the decision-making process. The practice of critical thinking and decision-making is a lifelong discipline. By observing assumptions, separating fact from opinion, weighing evidence, anticipating outcomes, regulating emotion, and seeking diverse perspectives, the mind becomes a tool of clarity and precision. Each decision, from minor daily choices to major life-altering judgments, benefits from structured analysis. Small, consistent application cultivates a habit of reasoned action, ensuring that life is navigated with intelligence rather than chance. The journey toward better thinking begins with one simple exercise. Take a decision you face today, break it into components, list options, assess potential consequences, and select the path that maximizes alignment with values and goals. Observe the outcome, reflect, and repeat. Over time, the mind develops the agility, discernment, and foresight necessary to navigate complexity with confidence and skill. Critical thinking and informed decision-making are not innate talents, but cultivated practices that transform challenges into opportunities, uncertainty into strategy, and everyday choices into deliberate acts of mastery. Chapter 6. Resilience and Stress Management, Thriving Under Pressure. Resilience is the quiet power that allows a person to endure adversity, to bend without breaking, and to transform challenges into stepping stones for growth. Stress is not an anomaly to be avoided entirely. It is a signal that tests boundaries, demands adaptation, and calls for deliberate response. Thriving under pressure is not a matter of avoiding difficulty, but learning to navigate it with intention, perspective, and emotional balance. It begins with the recognition that failure, setbacks, and change are not signs of weakness, but integral parts of life. Those who cultivate resilience develop an inner resourcefulness that transforms obstacles into lessons, discomfort into motivation, and unpredictability into manageable experience. The foundation of resilience is acceptance. This is not passive resignation, but a conscious acknowledgement of reality as it is. Denial amplifies stress by creating internal conflict between expectation and circumstance. Acceptance allows the mind to move from resistance to strategy. When confronted with a setback, the first step is to pause, breathe, and observe the situation without judgment. Ask what is within control and what is not. This creates the space to respond effectively rather than react impulsively. Acceptance does not eliminate pain, but clarifies the path forward. Emotional regulation is the next pillar. High stress triggers a cascade of physiological responses: racing heart, shallow breathing, muscle tension that prepare the body for fight or flight. When these responses dominate, decision-making deteriorates, and actions are often counterproductive. Resilient individuals learn to modulate these reactions. Deep diaphragmatic breathing, grounding exercises, and brief moments of mindfulness calm the nervous system and create clarity. Observing sensations in the body and naming them, this is anxiety, this is frustration, reduces the intensity of the emotion and shifts the mind from automatic reaction to deliberate action. Cognitive reframing is a powerful technique for resilience. It involves consciously changing perspective to see difficulty as opportunity. Instead of viewing failure as defeat, consider what the experience teaches, what skills are sharpened, and how adaptability grows. Challenges are reinterpreted as training grounds for skill, patience, and persistence. The mind that habitually reframes adversity maintains optimism without ignoring reality. Optimism in this context is not naive positivity but strategic focus on solutions and learning. A practical exercise to strengthen resilience is the three-step recovery reflection. After a stressful event or failure, write down three things: what happened, what you can control, and one concrete action to move forward. Completing this practice daily or weekly trains the brain to identify actionable steps rather than ruminate, cultivating a mindset of proactive response. Over time, recovery from setbacks becomes faster and more efficient, reinforcing the capacity to remain composed under pressure. Real-life application illustrates the transformative power of resilience. Consider an entrepreneur whose business faces sudden financial loss due to unforeseen market changes. Initial reactions might include panic, frustration, and self-doubt. A resilient approach begins with acceptance, recognizing the loss without over-identifying with it. Next comes analysis, separating controllable factors, such as cash flow management, from uncontrollable elements like market conditions. The entrepreneur then develops a plan to stabilize operations, seeks advice from trusted mentors, and adjusts strategy. The experience, though stressful, strengthens problem-solving skills, financial insight, and confidence, leaving the individual better equipped for future challenges. Adaptability is integral to resilience. Life is rarely static, and the ability to adjust goals, strategies, and expectations is crucial. Flexibility does not mean abandoning core values, but reshaping methods to fit new circumstances. For example, if a project is delayed due to external factors, a rigid insistence on the original plan increases stress. An adaptable approach reevaluates timelines, reallocates resources, and explores alternative solutions while maintaining commitment to objectives. Adaptability preserves momentum, reduces unnecessary frustration, and fosters sustained performance despite unpredictability. Social support enhances resilience. Humans are inherently relational, and connection provides perspective, encouragement, and emotional containment. Engaging with trusted friends, mentors, or colleagues allows for sharing of burdens, brainstorming of solutions, and reinforcement of confidence. Resilient individuals cultivate networks, not as mere resources, but as mutual channels of encouragement and learning. Asking for help or perspective is not weakness, it is a strategic amplification of capacity under pressure. Stress management techniques complement resilience by maintaining mental and physical equilibrium. Exercise, adequate sleep, structured routines and mindful nutrition stabilize energy and mood. Chronic stress erodes focus, judgment and health, undermining the very foundation of resilience. Integrating restorative practices, such as meditation, journaling, or brief outdoor walks, creates recovery moments within busy days, allowing sustained high performance without burnout. These practices are not indulgences, but necessary maintenance for long-term effectiveness. Perspective provides context to stress. Many pressures feel overwhelming because they are viewed as permanent, universal, or catastrophic. Stepping back and examining the broader context reduces their intensity, asking, will this matter in a week, a month, or a year, or what lessons can I extract from this experience? Reframes the situation and diminishes emotional charge. Perspective does not minimize reality, but equips the mind to act with composure and strategic insight, rather than being consumed by momentary turbulence. Resilient individuals also cultivate deliberate optimism. This is distinct from naive positivity. It is a grounded expectation that problems can be solved, that learning occurs through difficulty, and that effort produces growth. Optimism motivates action, sustains persistence, and buffers against despair when results are slow or setbacks arise. Pairing optimism with realistic assessment ensures that hope is not blind but informed, guiding measured action even in adversity. The accumulation of small, deliberate responses compounds over time. Each challenge navigated, each setback reframed, each stress managed builds psychological muscle. Like physical conditioning, resilience develops incrementally, starting with minor difficulties, delays, minor conflicts, daily frustrations, and responding with composure trains the mind for larger challenges. Habits of reflection, deliberate action, and perspective gradually establish a stable foundation for thriving in the face of uncertainty. Resilience is inseparable from purpose. Clear understanding of values, goals, and long-term vision provides motivation and direction when stress mounts. When adversity threatens, purpose anchors decision-making and sustains perseverance. Individuals with clarity of purpose perceive setbacks as temporary interruptions rather than terminal failures, maintaining momentum toward meaningful objectives despite external turbulence. Purpose acts as both compass and ballast, guiding action and maintaining stability under pressure. A practical daily habit to reinforce resilience is the stress log and response plan. At the end of each day, note one stressful incident, the emotions experienced, how it was addressed, and what alternative responses could improve outcomes in the future. Over time, this habit identifies patterns, strengthens adaptive strategies, and creates a personalized toolkit for navigating challenges. Reviewing progress weekly amplifies learning, turning ordinary experience into systematic growth. The cultivation of resilience and effective stress management reshapes life from reactive survival to intentional thriving. Adversity becomes training, change becomes opportunity, and pressure becomes a catalyst for growth. By integrating acceptance, emotional regulation, cognitive reframing, adaptability, social support, stress management techniques, perspective, and purpose, individuals build the capacity to face challenges with strength, composure, and insight. Daily practice solidifies these skills, ensuring that setbacks are temporary, challenges are opportunities, and resilience becomes a defining feature of character and performance. Resilience is not a static trait, but an evolving skill, honed through consistent reflection, deliberate action, and strategic response. Thriving under pressure is the result of training the mind to respond constructively, the body to recover efficiently, and the spirit to maintain focus and purpose. Each setback navigated, each stressor managed, each lesson integrated contributes to a compounding capacity for endurance, growth, and flourishing. Over time, the individual emerges stronger, wiser, and more capable, fully prepared to meet life's challenges with clarity, courage, and composure. Chapter 7. Financial Literacy. Building a Secure Future. Financial literacy is one of the most powerful tools a person can develop, yet it is often overlooked in daily life. Understanding money is not just about accumulating wealth. It is about creating freedom, security, and the capacity to make choices without fear or compromise. Many individuals experience stress or uncertainty because they have not developed practical skills in managing income, expenses, and investments. Financial literacy transforms this uncertainty into clarity, equipping people to make informed decisions, plan for the future, and leverage resources to create lasting stability. It begins with awareness, knowing exactly how money flows in and out, understanding obligations, and recognizing opportunities for growth. Budgeting is the cornerstone of financial security. Tracking every expense, categorizing spending, and setting limits create transparency. It is not merely about restriction, but about intentionality, deciding consciously where money will go, rather than allowing it to slip away unnoticed. A functional budget distinguishes between necessities, discretionary spending, and savings or investment goals. By allocating a portion of income toward long-term objectives, the individual ensures that money works as a tool rather than a source of stress. Budgets should be flexible, reviewed regularly, and adjusted as circumstances evolve to maintain alignment with goals. Savings is more than an emergency cushion. It is the foundation for opportunity. Even small amounts set aside consistently accumulate over time, providing security in the face of unexpected expenses and enabling investment in meaningful ventures. Automating savings ensures consistency and removes reliance on willpower, creating a system where financial growth occurs passively. This disciplined approach prevents the erosion of financial stability and empowers the individual to act rather than react to circumstances. Investing introduces the principle of money growth through strategic allocation. Understanding the basics, risk, return, diversification, and compounding is critical. Investing is not gambling. It is deliberate participation in wealth building over time. Even modest, consistent contributions to diversified assets, such as index funds or retirement accounts, can generate significant results over years. The key is education, knowing what each investment represents, how it aligns with goals, and how to balance potential gains against acceptable risk. Knowledge transforms investing from anxiety-inducing speculation into a structured path towards security and growth. Debt management is a critical skill often ignored. Not all debt is harmful, but unmonitored or high-interest obligations can undermine financial progress. Distinguishing between productive debt, used to acquire appreciating assets or investments, and consumer debt for temporary gratification allows for strategic decision-making. Paying off high-interest debt aggressively frees resources for savings and investments. Developing a system for tracking debt, understanding interest calculations, and planning repayment sequences enhances control over financial destiny. A practical exercise for building financial literacy is the monthly financial review. Each month, track all income sources and categorize every expense. Identify unnecessary expenditures, calculate savings and investments, and review progress toward financial goals. Reflect on opportunities to optimize spending and increase savings or investment contributions. This exercise provides awareness, accountability, and actionable insight, turning abstract intentions into concrete, measurable progress. Real-life application illustrates the power of these skills. Consider a young professional earning a modest income, but aspiring for financial independence. By creating a budget, automating 20% of income into a diversified investment account, and gradually reducing discretionary spending, the individual builds both security and opportunity. Unexpected expenses, such as medical bills or urgent home repairs, are manageable due to emergency savings. Over several years, consistent investment growth and disciplined money management create the ability to consider career changes, entrepreneurial ventures, or lifestyle improvements without anxiety. The transformation is less about sudden wealth and more about control, choice, and confidence in financial decisions. Long-term planning elevates financial literacy from reactive management to strategic vision. Retirement planning, for example, is often deferred because it feels distant or abstract. Yet early and consistent planning allows for the benefits of compounding to work fully, estimating future needs, adjusting contributions, and aligning investment strategies with life goals ensures that long-term security is attainable. Planning also includes risk management, insurance, contingency funds, and diversification of income streams, safeguard against unpredictable events. Comprehensive planning transforms uncertainty into a proactive framework that promotes stability and growth. Financial literacy extends beyond individual knowledge to encompass behavioral awareness. Emotions often drive spending decisions. Fear, envy, or desire can lead to impulsive purchases. Cultivating mindfulness around financial choices reduces emotional interference, ensuring that decisions align with long-term priorities rather than short-term impulses. Observing spending patterns, questioning motivations, and implementing deliberate choices reinforce self-discipline and strengthen the connection between intention and action. The psychological dimension of money management cannot be overstated. Financial stress erodes well-being, relationships, and productivity. Conversely, confidence in handling finances fosters peace of mind, enables risk-taking in pursuit of opportunities, and promotes a sense of empowerment. Awareness of financial position, structured planning, and disciplined action create the conditions for both security and growth. Financial literacy is not merely a skill set, but a framework for life design, influencing freedom, choices, and resilience in the face of economic challenges. Education and continuous learning amplify financial competence. Markets evolve, new investment vehicles emerge, and tax or regulatory systems shift. Staying informed through reading, courses, mentorship, or consultation ensures that decisions remain relevant and strategic. Knowledge transforms anxiety into confidence, and curiosity sustains growth. A financially literate person does not merely respond to circumstances, but anticipates trends, seizes opportunities, and adapts strategies in alignment with evolving goals. Another key component is goal alignment. Financial choices should be intentionally connected to personal priorities and values. Whether the objective is home ownership, travel, education, or early retirement, clarity of purpose directs both spending and investment. Goals transform abstract aspirations into measurable targets. Breaking large objectives into incremental milestones, assigning timelines, and tracking progress makes financial achievement tangible. Each decision becomes a step toward a clearly defined future rather than a reaction to immediate pressures. Accountability reinforces financial discipline. Sharing progress with a partner, mentor, or community strengthens commitment and reduces the likelihood of deviations from plans. Periodic review sessions, goal reassessment, and reflection on successes and mistakes create a feedback loop that maintains alignment with long-term objectives. Accountability is not about external control, but a structured mechanism for sustained intentional action. In practice, the integration of budgeting, savings, debt management, investment, planning, behavioral awareness, education, goal alignment, and accountability produces cumulative results. Each component reinforces the others, creating a resilient, adaptive, and proactive financial framework. Financial literacy is not a one-time achievement, but a lifelong skill refined through consistent attention, reflection, and strategic action. Developing financial literacy begins with deliberate action, tracking expenses, planning savings, exploring investments, and reflecting on decisions. Over time, these habits produce competence, confidence, and security. Small, consistent steps compound into substantial results, turning financial anxiety into empowerment. Individuals gain the freedom to make choices aligned with values, to withstand unexpected challenges, and to pursue opportunities without constraint. Financial literacy is the foundation upon which long-term stability, growth, and meaningful life design are built, creating a future defined not by scarcity or stress, but by control, confidence, and possibility.
Chapter 8: Relationship and Social Skills. Building Meaningful Connections.
Human connection is a fundamental element of life, yet cultivating meaningful relationships requires skill, intention, and awareness. Social skills are not merely about charm or charisma. They are about understanding others, expressing oneself authentically, and navigating complex interpersonal dynamics with clarity and empathy. Every interaction is an opportunity to strengthen bonds, build trust, and create mutual value, whether in personal friendships, family connections, or professional networks. Strong relationships provide support during adversity, amplify opportunities for growth, and enhance overall well-being. Developing these skills transforms social engagement from superficial exchanges into purposeful, rewarding connections that enrich both personal and professional life. The foundation of meaningful relationships is active listening. Listening is more than waiting for a turn to speak. It is fully engaging with what the other person communicates through words, tone, and body language. Paying attention to subtleties, such as hesitation, emotion, and non-verbal cues, reveals the deeper meaning behind what is said. Reflecting back what is understood or asking clarifying questions demonstrates attentiveness and respect, which strengthens trust. By prioritizing genuine understanding over immediate response or persuasion, one creates a safe and supportive space that encourages openness and honest dialogue. Empathy amplifies connection. The ability to perceive and share the feelings of others fosters emotional resonance and deepens bonds. Empathy does not require agreement with every perspective, but a willingness to acknowledge experiences and validate emotions. Observing verbal cues and non-verbal signals allows for tailored responses that meet others where they are emotionally. Practicing empathy develops patience, reduces conflicts, and fosters collaboration, turning interactions into mutual exchanges rather than transactional encounters. Communication clarity is equally vital. Expressing thoughts, needs, and boundaries without ambiguity reduces misunderstandings and strengthens trust. Using precise language, appropriate tone, and consistent non-verbal alignment ensures that intentions are accurately perceived. Avoiding passive-aggressive behavior or unspoken expectations prevents resentment and promotes openness. When people feel they are understood and not judged, connections flourish, creating space for cooperation, support, and meaningful dialogue. Conflict is inevitable in relationships, yet skillful management transforms it into growth. Constructive conflict resolution involves addressing disagreements without personal attacks, focusing on behavior and impact rather than character. Active listening, acknowledging feelings, and proposing solutions based on shared interests fosters collaboration rather than defensiveness. When conflicts are managed respectfully, relationships strengthen rather than fracture, creating resilience and mutual respect. Avoiding or ignoring issues, on the other hand, erodes trust and breeds resentment over time. A practical exercise to enhance relationship skills is the daily reflection and appreciation practice. Each evening, take note of interactions during the day, identifying moments where understanding, empathy, or support could have been improved. Then, identify at least one positive interaction or contribution from someone else, expressing gratitude directly or mentally. This exercise cultivates mindfulness in communication, reinforces recognition of positive social dynamics, and fosters intentionality in future interactions. Over time, individuals become more attuned to subtleties, more responsive, and more appreciative, strengthening the quality of all relationships. Expanding social networks requires intentionality and authenticity. Networking is not about collecting contacts, but cultivating mutually beneficial relationships. Attend events, join interest-based communities, and engage in activities that align with personal or professional goals. Approach each connection with curiosity and a mindset of contribution rather than extraction. Offering help, sharing knowledge, or simply expressing genuine interest lays the foundation for trust and reciprocity. A network built on authentic relationships creates opportunities for collaboration, mentorship, and growth that far exceed superficial connections. Nonverbal communication plays a critical role in relationship building. Facial expressions, posture, gestures, and eye contact communicate volumes about interest, openness, and trustworthiness. Subtle adjustments, such as leaning slightly forward, maintaining relaxed but attentive posture, and using facial expressions that reflect engagement, signal presence and investment in the interaction. Awareness of these cues not only enhances personal expression, but also allows accurate interpretation of others' emotions and intentions. Social intelligence involves reading group dynamics, understanding social norms, and adapting behavior appropriately. In professional settings, recognizing unspoken hierarchies, cultural expectations, or communication styles ensures respectful and effective engagement. In personal contexts, perceiving emotional climates, timing responses, and balancing listening with speaking promotes harmony and influence. Developing this sensitivity allows individuals to navigate complex social environments with confidence, tact, and effectiveness. Real-life application demonstrates the power of these skills. Imagine a team leader tasked with unifying a diverse group with conflicting priorities. By actively listening to each member, empathizing with concerns, and clearly articulating objectives, the leader creates an environment where each voice is acknowledged. Conflicts are addressed constructively, and strengths are leveraged collaboratively. Over time, trust develops, collaboration improves, and team performance exceeds expectations. The ability to cultivate relationships transforms potential friction into synergy and collective achievement. Boundaries are another critical component. Healthy relationships require clarity about personal limits, values, and expectations. Setting boundaries protects time, energy, and well-being, while communicating respect for oneself and others. Boundaries prevent overcommitment, reduce resentment, and maintain balance in personal and professional spheres. Articulating boundaries calmly and assertively ensures that relationships remain sustainable and mutually respectful. Consistency in behavior fosters reliability, a key element of trust. Keeping promises, following through on commitments, and demonstrating integrity builds a reputation of dependability. People gravitate toward those who are predictable in their values and actions, as predictability reduces uncertainty and fosters security. Reliability in interactions creates a foundation upon which long-term, meaningful relationships are built. Social skills are enhanced through reflection and iterative learning. Observing patterns in interactions, noting triggers for misunderstandings or tension, and adjusting approaches enhances effectiveness over time. Self-awareness in social contexts ensures that behavior aligns with intentions and contributes positively to relationship quality. Deliberate observation and adjustment create a feedback loop that continually strengthens relational capacity. Mutual support strengthens bonds. Offering assistance, encouragement, or advice without expectation of immediate return cultivates goodwill and reinforces trust. Reciprocity naturally develops as individuals experience support and extend it to others. Acts of support, however small, create a network of care and reliability that compounds over time, reinforcing both personal and professional relationships. Emotional regulation complements relational skill. Responding calmly during emotionally charged situations preserves connection and prevents escalation. Pausing before reacting, considering perspective, and choosing measured language allows difficult conversations to maintain integrity and constructive focus. Emotional control ensures that disagreements do not derail relationships and that communication remains productive and respectful. Expanding social influence requires authenticity. Attempting to manipulate or impress often undermines trust. Genuine engagement, transparency, and alignment between words and actions cultivate credibility and respect. When individuals are authentic, others respond with openness, creating fertile ground for collaboration, mentorship, and shared success. In practice, building meaningful connections is not an isolated effort, but an ongoing process of engagement, reflection, and contribution. Daily actions, active listening, empathetic responses, conflict management, thoughtful expression of appreciation, and intentional social engagement accumulate over time to produce deep, enduring relationships. Small, consistent investments in attention, understanding, and support create a social ecosystem that enriches life, facilitates growth, and amplifies opportunity. The mastery of relationship and social skills transforms life by creating networks of trust, support, and opportunity. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to strengthen bonds, learn, and influence positively. Individuals who cultivate these skills experience deeper friendships, more effective collaborations, and a resilient support system. Relationships evolve from transactional interactions into meaningful, mutually enriching connections that enhance personal satisfaction, professional success, and overall well-being. Social skills are not innate. They are cultivated through attention, practice, and reflection. By integrating active listening, empathy, clear communication, conflict resolution, authentic engagement, and consistent reliability, anyone can develop the capacity to build meaningful connections. This skill set provides both immediate benefits in daily interactions and compounding advantages over a lifetime, establishing the foundation for a life defined by trust, collaboration, and purposeful human connection. Chapter 9: Creativity and Lifelong Learning. Unlock your potential. Creativity and lifelong learning are not privileges reserved for artists or academics. They are essential tools for navigating life, solving problems, and expanding potential. Creativity is the ability to see connections where others see separation, to generate solutions that are novel yet practical, and to approach challenges with flexibility rather than rigidity. Lifelong learning is the ongoing pursuit of knowledge, skill, and perspective that ensures growth never stagnates. Together they form a dynamic cycle. Curiosity sparks exploration, exploration cultivates insight, and insight fuels innovation. Individuals who embrace this cycle unlock opportunities for personal fulfillment, professional advancement, and meaningful contribution to the world around them. The first step in cultivating creativity is curiosity. Curiosity is an active engagement with the unknown, a willingness to question assumptions, and an eagerness to explore possibilities beyond the familiar. Asking questions such as "what if?" or "why does it have to be this way?" opens mental pathways that conventional thinking often ignores. Curiosity demands attention and observation. The smallest detail or overlooked aspect of a problem can reveal a novel solution. By fostering curiosity, the mind becomes agile, ready to adapt, and capable of generating innovative ideas. Creativity also thrives on experimentation. Novel ideas often emerge not from rigid planning, but from trial and error, risk-taking, and iterative exploration. Fear of failure is a common barrier, yet each misstep provides invaluable feedback. Shifting perspective to view errors as lessons rather than defeat fosters resilience and encourages continuous effort. Experimentation can be as simple as approaching daily routines differently, exploring alternative problem-solving strategies, or combining seemingly unrelated ideas to create something new. Over time, the habit of experimentation strengthens imaginative capacity and adaptive thinking. Continuous learning is essential for sustaining creativity. Knowledge forms the building blocks upon which new ideas are constructed. Engaging in lifelong learning ensures that mental resources remain abundant, diverse, and relevant. This learning can take many forms: formal education, online courses, reading, mentorship, or practical experience. Each exposure to new concepts, techniques, or perspectives enhances the ability to synthesize information, connect disparate ideas, and generate innovative solutions. Lifelong learning transforms the mind from a static repository into a dynamic engine of growth. Observation is a critical component of creative thinking. The world contains patterns, analogies, and solutions that often go unnoticed because attention is fragmented or routine-driven. Slowing down, focusing deliberately, and noticing subtleties cultivates insight. Observing not only external phenomena, but also internal responses, thought patterns, emotional reactions, and habitual assumptions provides material for creative reinterpretation. By paying attention, one captures inspiration from everyday life, turning ordinary experiences into sources of extraordinary ideas. A practical exercise to enhance creativity and lifelong learning is the Daily Idea Journal. Each day, spend 15 minutes recording at least 3 observations, questions, or ideas without filtering or judging them. These could be solutions to small problems, reflections on a book or article, or innovative approaches to routine tasks. Reviewing these entries weekly allows patterns to emerge, insights to develop, and connections to form that might not be apparent in the moment. This practice strengthens the mind's capacity to notice, analyze, and synthesize information creatively, transforming curiosity into actionable innovation. Real-life application demonstrates the transformative power of creativity and continuous learning. Consider a marketing professional tasked with revitalizing a stagnant campaign. Rather than following conventional approaches, she immerses herself in research across unrelated industries, observes trends, and experiments with different formats and messages. By combining ideas from seemingly unrelated domains, She crafts a campaign that resonates deeply with the audience, revitalizes engagement, and sets a new standard within her company. The success is not an accident. It is the result of deliberate curiosity, continuous learning, and the courage to experiment. Creativity benefits from diverse inputs, exposure to varied experiences, cultures, disciplines, and perspectives, expands mental models and provides raw material for innovation. Engaging in activities outside one's expertise, learning a musical instrument, exploring a new language, or studying a scientific principle stimulates neural pathways that enhance problem-solving and imaginative thinking. The mind that regularly encounters novelty becomes flexible, adaptable, and capable of generating solutions that are both original and practical. Reflection amplifies both creativity and learning. Taking time to pause, analyze, and synthesize experiences converts raw input into meaningful insight. Reflection allows one to identify patterns, recognize mistakes, celebrate successes, and refine approaches. By systematically reviewing ideas, decisions, and outcomes, the individual transforms experience into knowledge, enhancing both the quantity and quality of creative output. Reflection also builds self-awareness, providing insight into personal cognitive habits and preferred problem-solving styles. Collaboration enriches creativity. Engaging with others introduces alternative perspectives, challenges assumptions, and sparks ideas that solitary thinking may miss. Constructive dialogue, brainstorming sessions, and interdisciplinary teamwork amplify innovation by combining complementary skills and insights. The key is openness, valuing input without defensiveness, synthesizing perspectives without losing clarity, and leveraging diversity to expand the range of possible solutions. Collaborative creativity produces outcomes that surpass what any single individual could achieve. Overcoming mental blocks is an integral part of the creative process. Fear of judgment, perfectionism, or entrenched habits can stifle imagination. Techniques such as mind mapping, free writing, or intentional breaks from routine encourage cognitive flexibility and reduce mental rigidity. Embracing uncertainty and tolerating ambiguity allows the mind to explore unconventional avenues without the immediate pressure of results. These strategies cultivate a mindset in which innovation is not only possible, but habitual. Application of lifelong learning ensures that creativity remains relevant and actionable. Skills and knowledge must evolve alongside changing circumstances. For instance, a software developer who embraces new programming languages, tools, and methodologies is better equipped to innovate solutions than one who relies solely on past expertise. Lifelong learning ensures that creative ideas are grounded in current knowledge, practical application, and informed judgment, maximizing impact. Curiosity, experimentation, observation, reflection, collaboration, and continuous learning form a self-reinforcing cycle. Each element feeds the others. Curiosity sparks learning. Learning enhances observation. Observation informs experimentation. Experimentation prompts reflection, and reflection guides further exploration. Over time, this cycle produces a mind that is agile, adaptive, and capable of solving complex problems creatively and effectively. Integrating creativity and lifelong learning into daily life transforms how challenges are approached. Problems that once seemed insurmountable become opportunities for exploration. Routine tasks become exercises in efficiency and innovation. Knowledge is not passively acquired, but actively synthesized into new applications. Over time, the combination of curiosity, skill development, and reflective practice creates a compounding effect, exponentially increasing capability, insight, and potential. Developing these skills requires intentionality and persistence. Dedicating time to learning new concepts, Experimenting with ideas, observing patterns, and reflecting on experiences builds a foundation for sustained personal and professional growth. Creative habits and a commitment to lifelong learning ensure that the mind remains flexible, solutions remain innovative, and personal potential continues to expand regardless of external circumstances. Creativity and lifelong learning are not abstract ideals. They are practical tools for navigating life, solving problems, and maximizing potential. By cultivating curiosity, embracing experimentation, observing closely, reflecting deeply, collaborating openly, and continuously acquiring knowledge, individuals develop a dynamic capability that enables innovation, adaptability, and growth. The daily practice of these skills ensures that personal and professional life is marked by resourcefulness, ingenuity, and meaningful achievement. Mastery of creativity and lifelong learning transforms ordinary experience into a continuous journey of discovery, growth, and fulfillment. Chapter 10. Purpose and Self-Mastery: Designing Your Best Life. Purpose and self-mastery are the twin pillars of a life lived with intention and impact. They are the forces that allow individuals to move beyond mere survival, beyond reactive existence, toward deliberate creation of a life that reflects values, aspirations, and true potential. Purpose provides direction, a clear understanding of why actions matter and how they connect to something larger than the moment. Self-mastery provides the tools to act consistently with discipline and resilience, aligning daily habits with long-term vision. Together, they create a framework in which success is not measured solely by external achievements, but by fulfillment, growth, and meaningful contribution. Discovering purpose begins with reflection and clarity. It requires asking questions that probe deeply into personal values, passions, and strengths. What activities generate a sense of flow and joy? What impact do you want to have on those around you? Which values are non-negotiable in the life you aspire to live? These questions are not answered superficially. They demand time, introspection, and honesty. Writing reflections, journaling, and meditative contemplation serve as tools to uncover authentic motivations that will anchor decisions and actions. Purpose is not a vague ideal. It is a compass that directs attention, energy, and resources toward what truly matters. Self-mastery is the deliberate cultivation of control over thoughts, emotions, and actions. It is the ability to choose responses rather than react impulsively, to prioritize long-term gain over immediate gratification, and to maintain consistency even when motivation fluctuates. Self-mastery is developed through disciplined habits, daily routines, and deliberate practice. It is the skill of translating intention into consistent action, ensuring that the life you build aligns with your identified purpose. Without self-mastery, purpose remains aspirational and unfulfilled. With it, vision becomes reality. Habits form the bridge between intention and accomplishment. Small, repeated actions compound over time, shaping identity and capacity. Choosing habits aligned with purpose reinforces self-discipline and builds momentum. For example, an individual committed to health may establish a morning exercise routine, a meditation practice, and mindful eating habits. Each action, though small in isolation, contributes to a broader vision of well-being. Similarly, in professional contexts, dedicating consistent time to skill development, reflection, and strategic planning ensures progress toward meaningful objectives. Habits convert abstract goals into tangible, achievable steps. A practical exercise to cultivate purpose and self-mastery is the weekly alignment review. Each week, list the key actions taken, the decisions made, and the priorities pursued. Assess whether each aligns with long-term goals and core values. Identify deviations and adjust strategies accordingly. Over time, this practice reinforces awareness of alignment, strengthens discipline, and cultivates intentionality in decision-making. It transforms reflection into a proactive tool for life design, ensuring that energy is directed toward meaningful outcomes rather than scattered or reactive efforts. Real-life application illustrates the power of aligning purpose with self-mastery. Consider an entrepreneur passionate about sustainability who wants to create a business that reduces environmental impact. Purpose defines the vision, a company that benefits both society and the planet. Self-mastery dictates consistent action, rigorous research into eco-friendly practices, disciplined financial planning, strategic networking, and careful prioritization of projects. Daily decisions from supplier selection to marketing strategy reflect these guiding principles. The result is not only a profitable enterprise, but one that embodies personal values and generates tangible positive impact, demonstrating the compounding effect of purpose-driven action, reinforced by disciplined practice. Discipline is the backbone of self-mastery. It requires structuring time, setting boundaries, and making deliberate choices in the face of distraction or temptation. Discipline is not about rigidity, but about consistency and alignment with priorities. It allows the individual to maintain focus on high-value activities, resist short-term impulses that undermine long-term goals, and navigate obstacles without being derailed by frustration or discouragement. Cultivating discipline is a daily process, reinforced by reflection, accountability, and incremental progress. Mindset plays a crucial role in purpose and self-mastery. Viewing challenges as opportunities for growth, setbacks as lessons, and effort as the path to mastery fosters resilience and sustained motivation. A growth-oriented mindset enables individuals to embrace discomfort, persist through difficulty, and continuously refine skills and strategies. By reframing obstacles as training grounds, the mind transforms adversity into a mechanism for developing strength, wisdom, and adaptive capability. Focus is another essential component. Purpose without focus dissipates energy across competing priorities. Self-mastery ensures that attention remains directed toward meaningful objectives, resisting the lure of distraction or trivial pursuits. Techniques such as time blocking, prioritization matrices, and mindful attention to tasks maintain alignment with goals, ensuring that actions are deliberate rather than reactive. The combination of purpose and focus transforms the noise of daily life into a coherent pathway toward long-term success. Reflection and self-awareness amplify self-mastery. Observing thought patterns, emotional triggers, and habitual behaviors provides insight into areas of strength and aspects requiring adjustment. Self-awareness allows for corrective action, preventing unconscious habits from undermining progress. Journaling, meditation, and structured reflection sessions serve as mechanisms for cultivating this awareness, ensuring that behavior evolves in harmony with values and goals. Continuous observation and adjustment create a feedback loop that enhances alignment, consistency, and personal growth. Purpose-driven action fosters fulfillment and motivation. When actions are congruent with values, the individual experiences coherence between internal beliefs and external behavior. This alignment reduces internal conflict, enhances energy, and strengthens resilience against external pressures or criticism. Purpose provides the why behind effort, and self-mastery ensures that effort is sustained, directed, and effective. Together, they create a life characterized by clarity, achievement, and meaningful impact. Accountability reinforces self-mastery. Sharing intentions, goals, and progress with mentors, peers, or trusted individuals creates external support that strengthens commitment. Accountability provides feedback, encouragement, and perspective, reducing the likelihood of deviation from aligned action. It also cultivates humility and openness to learning, ensuring that growth continues despite challenges or setbacks. Adaptability complements purpose and self-mastery. While direction is essential, rigidity can be detrimental. Circumstances change, opportunities emerge, and unforeseen obstacles appear. The individual who balances steadfastness in values with flexibility in approach navigates life effectively, adjusting strategies while maintaining alignment with core principles. Adaptability ensures that purpose is not abandoned in the face of change, but expressed in evolving forms suited to current realities. Over time, the combination of purpose, self-mastery, disciplined habits, focus, reflection, accountability, and adaptability compounds. Daily choices that align with values reinforce identity, build competence, and produce tangible outcomes. Effort, invested consistently, produces results far beyond immediate perception, creating a trajectory of growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Life becomes not a series of random events, but a coherent, intentional journey guided by principles, clarity, and disciplined execution. Mastering purpose and self-mastery transforms ordinary life into extraordinary experience. Every action becomes an expression of values, every decision an opportunity for alignment, and every challenge a chance to strengthen capability. Individuals who integrate these principles develop resilience, clarity, and confidence, achieving both external success and internal fulfillment. Purpose provides the destination, self-mastery provides the vehicle, and daily disciplined action charts the route, producing a life that is intentional, meaningful, and profoundly impactful. Purpose and self-mastery are lifelong practices, refined through reflection, deliberate effort, and continuous learning. By dedicating attention to clarity of values, cultivating discipline, and establishing habits that reinforce alignment, the individual ensures that life is not shaped by circumstance, but designed with intention. The daily practice of these principles transforms potential into accomplishment, ambition into achievement, and aspiration into fulfillment, creating a life that is rich in meaning, guided by principle, and aligned with true self.